It was a cold evening, just after the sun had disappeared behind the buildings. The streets were starting to empty as people hurried home, tired after a long day. The city lights flickered on one by one, casting a soft glow over the quiet sidewalks. A man was walking home after a long day at work. He was tired, shoulders heavy with the weight of responsibility. He was a father, working hard to take care of his family. His job wasn't easy and money was tight. Some days felt like a constant struggle, but he never stopped trying. As he walked, something caught his eye. At the corner of the street, near a small park, stood a young girl. She looked lost. Her small frame was trembling slightly, and her eyes darted nervously around. The girl's clothes were neat but worn, and she clutched a small backpack tightly to her chest. The father paused. Something about her unsettled him. No child should be alone at this hour, especially not looking so frightened. He looked around, but there was no one nearby who seemed to be with her. He took a few steps closer. "Hey there," he said softly, careful not to scare her. The girl looked up, startled at first. Her eyes were wide and a little scared, but she didn't run. Instead, she took a small step toward him. "Are you okay?" the man asked. She shook her head. I don't know where I am," she said quietly. Her voice was small, almost a whisper. The father felt a deep ache in his chest. He knew what it was like to feel lost and alone. "What's your name?" he asked gently. She hesitated for a moment. I'm just trying to get home," she said. The man looked around again. It was getting late and the streets were emptying fast. "Do you know where your home is?" She shook her head again. "I don't remember the way." The father smiled kindly, trying to hide the worry in his own heart. "Don't worry, I'll help you get home." She looked up at him with hopeful eyes. For the first time since he saw her, there was a small flicker of relief in her face. The man glanced at his watch. He had bills to pay, a family waiting for him, and a long day ahead tomorrow. But none of that mattered now. This little girl needed help, and he was going to give it to her. They started walking together, the father gently guiding her through the quiet streets. He asked questions, hoping to find clues about where she lived. "Do you remember your street name? Or your house number?" She bit her lip and thought hard. "I think it starts with an M," she said finally. "Okay," he said. "That's a good start." As they walked, he talked to her about simple things to keep her calm. He told her about his job, about his kids, and about the little things that made life good, even when it was hard. The girl listened quietly, her fear slowly fading. They stopped at a small convenience store where the father used his phone to search for nearby streets starting with M. He called a few numbers. He found but didn't get any answers. It was getting colder now, and the father noticed the girl shivering. He took off his jacket and wrapped it around her shoulders, pulling her close to share his warmth. "Thank you," she whispered. The father nodded. "It's okay. We'll find your home." After what felt like hours but was only about 30 minutes, they finally spotted a house with lights on inside. The girl's face lit up. "That's it," she exclaimed softly. They approached the house, and a woman came rushing out, tears in her eyes. "Thank God. I was so worried," she said, hugging the girl tightly. The father watched quietly as the family reunited. The woman thanked him over and over, grateful for his kindness. He smiled and told her it was no trouble at all. Walking back to his own small house that night, the father felt tired but good. He had helped someone in need, even though his own life was difficult. What he didn't know was that this small act of kindness was about to change everything for him. More than he could imagine. The father looked down at the little girl who was clutching her small backpack tightly. Her eyes were wide with fear and confusion, and she didn't know where to go. The sun was beginning to set, and the streets were quieting down. The father felt a wave of concern, but also a strong sense of responsibility. Even though he was tired from a long day and worried about his own children waiting at home, he couldn't just leave her there all alone. He gently asked, "Can you tell me where your home is? Or do you remember your mom's phone number?" The girl nodded hesitantly and whispered a few words that sounded like an address. It wasn't far from where they stood, but it was a neighborhood the father wasn't very familiar with. Taking a deep breath, the father said, "Okay, let's try to find your home together." He knew it wouldn't be easy, especially with the time running out and the darkness slowly creeping in, but there was no other choice. They started walking slowly down the street. The father kept an eye on the girl, making sure she felt safe. She was small and fragile, and he knew that feeling lost and scared in the world could be the worst feeling anyone could have. As they walked, the father tried calling the phone number the girl had told him. It went straight to voicemail. He tried a few more times, but no one answered. "Don't worry," he said softly. "We'll find your mom." "I promise." The girl nodded, but her eyes filled with tears again. The father reached out and gently wiped them away. "It's okay to be scared. I'm here with you. We're going to get you back home." As they moved through the quiet neighborhood, the father stopped a few people to ask if they had seen the girl's family. Some recognized her and said they hadn't seen anyone around. Others shook their heads and wished them luck. The father stayed calm, even though inside he felt the pressure of time. After a while, they came to a small park. The father decided to sit down on a bench to let the girl rest. She looked exhausted and cold. He took off his jacket and wrapped it gently around her shoulders. "You're very brave," he told her. "Almost everyone would feel scared in your place, but you stayed strong." The girl smiled faintly for the first time. She looked up at him with a tiny spark of hope in her eyes. That little smile gave the father the strength to keep going. He checked his watch. It was getting late and he worried about the kids waiting for him at home. But he couldn't leave the girl until he was sure she was safe, so he called a friend who lived nearby, hoping she might know the area better or could help. His friend answered right away and said she would come over to meet them. While they waited, the father talked to the girl softly, asking about her favorite things, her school, and what she liked to do for fun. This helped calm her down even more. When his friend arrived, she took a quick look and recognized the area. She said she would try to find the girl's home while the father stayed with the child. It was a relief to have more help. Soon the friend came back with good news. The girl's mother was nearby and was worried sick. The father and the girl walked to the mother's house. The mother opened the door with tears streaming down her face. She hugged her daughter tightly, not letting go for a long time. Then she turned to the father and thanked him over and over. The mother explained that she had been out for a few minutes and the girl somehow wandered off. The father smiled humbly, saying he was just glad to help. The mother offered to call someone to give him a ride home, but he refused. "I have to get back to my kids," he said. "They're waiting for me." Before leaving, the mother promised that she would never forget his kindness. She said she wanted to repay him someday, but understood if he didn't want anything in return. The father simply told her that helping someone in need was its own reward. As he walked back home, the father thought about how small acts of kindness could mean so much. He felt tired but happy inside. Helping the little girl find her way was something he would remember forever. The next morning, the man woke up feeling a little tired but peaceful. Last night's kindness had left a warmth in his heart. The little girl was safe and he was grateful he could help. He went about his morning routine, getting his kids ready for school, preparing breakfast, and thinking quietly about the night before. As he stepped outside to start his day, he noticed something unusual. Parked near his small house was a shiny black car, a luxury vehicle that gleamed under the morning sun. It looked out of place in his modest neighborhood. The man frowned, curious and a bit confused. Who could it belong to? And why was it here? Before he could wonder more, the doorbell rang. Surprised, he opened the door and found a well-dressed woman standing there. She wore a kind smile, but there was something important in her eyes. The man welcomed her inside. "Good morning," she said softly. "I'm here to thank you." The man blinked, still a little unsure. "Thank me? For what?" The woman sat down and explained. "My daughter told me everything. How you helped her when she was lost and scared. I wanted to come by and say thank you in person." He smiled gently, feeling shy about all the attention. "It was nothing. I just did what anyone would do." She shook her head. "No, it was more than that. You showed kindness when it mattered most, and kindness is rare these days." The man looked down, feeling a mix of pride and embarrassment. "I just wanted to help." The woman reached into her bag and pulled out a small envelope. "Please accept this as a token of gratitude." He hesitated but took the envelope. Inside was a check, much larger than anything he had ever seen. His eyes widened. This is too much," he stammered. She smiled warmly. "It's not a gift. Think of it as a thank you for your good heart and your willingness to help someone in need." The man's mind raced. This was not just a thank you. It was a chance to ease some of the struggles he and his family faced. He thought of the bills piling up, the broken appliances in his home, and the little things his children needed but couldn't always get. Over the next few days, the woman and her daughter visited often. The little girl was happy, playing and laughing again, and the man found himself more hopeful. The woman introduced him to people who could help him find better work, and slowly things began to change. Word spread in the community about the man's kindness. People started to see him differently, not just as a struggling father, but as someone with a heart full of courage and love. Neighbors offered small jobs, local businesses gave discounts, and the children at school looked up to him. One evening, after a long day, the man sat on his porch and thought about how a simple act of kindness could ripple into something much bigger. He remembered the fear in the little girl's eyes when he first found her, and the relief when they reached her mother's arms. It made him realize something important. No matter how hard life gets, being kind is never wasted. Sometimes the smallest actions can change lives, including your own. The man smiled quietly to himself. He knew that his life was different now, not because of the money or the gifts, but because someone had seen his heart, and that was worth more than anything else. The next morning, the struggling father woke up to a quiet house. The memories of the night before were still fresh in his mind. The frightened little girl, lost and confused, sitting on his porch. He had felt a deep sense of responsibility when he saw her there, cold and scared, and without thinking twice, he decided to help her find her way home. It wasn't an easy choice. He had so many worries already, bills to pay, food to put on the table for his own kids, and work to get to. But something inside told him that helping this little girl was important. Now, as he moved around his small kitchen, making a simple breakfast, he thought about how that moment of kindness had changed his day in ways he couldn't have imagined. The girl had been so sweet, so trusting, and when he finally helped her find her mother's phone number and got in touch with her family, he had felt a quiet joy. There was no grand reward then, just the simple warmth of doing something right. Later that day, he was working on fixing an old bike in his garage when he heard a strange sound outside. A low rumble, smooth and powerful, grew louder until he saw a shiny premium vehicle pull up to his driveway. He froze for a moment, unsure who it could be. The car was unlike anything he had ever seen close up, gleaming in the sunlight, polished to perfection. The driver's door opened, and out stepped a well-dressed man with a kind face. The man introduced himself politely and explained that he was the father of the little girl the struggling dad had helped the night before. He said he had wanted to meet the man who showed such kindness to his daughter when she was lost and scared. The struggling father listened quietly, surprised by the visit. He had never expected anything more than a simple thank you. The visitor went on to explain that he was a successful businessman, and that the family wanted to express their gratitude in a way that could truly help. The struggling father's heart raced. He had spent so many days feeling trapped by his situation, unsure of how he would make ends meet. Now someone was offering him a chance to change his life. But even more than the offer of help, the struggling father was moved by the respect and humility in the man's words. This wasn't just about money or favors. It was about acknowledging the kindness that could make a real difference. The businessman said, "What you did wasn't just a small act. It meant a lot to my family. We want to help you build a better future." That moment marked the beginning of a new chapter. The struggling father accepted the offer with gratitude, but also with determination. He wanted to work hard and make the most of the opportunity, not just for himself, but for his children. The visitor promised to support him with more than just money, offering connections, advice, and friendship. In the days and weeks that followed, the struggling father's life slowly started to change. He found better work thanks to the businessman's help. His children had a little more comfort and stability. The small house that once felt so heavy with worry now carried a lightness, filled with hope and the promise of better days. But through it all, the struggling father never forgot that simple night when he chose to help a lost little girl. It reminded him that even in hard times, kindness mattered. It showed him that sometimes, when you reach out with a helping hand, life can surprise you in the best ways. And as he watched the premium vehicle pull away from his home that day, he realized that one small act of compassion could truly change everything. The days that followed after the lost girl safely reached home were filled with a mix of emotions for the struggling father. He kept thinking about that evening, how a simple act of kindness had unexpectedly shifted his world. Life had been hard for him, trying to juggle work, bills, and raising his children alone. But helping that little girl gave him a feeling he hadn't had in a long time. a feeling of hope and purpose. One afternoon, as he was fixing dinner for his kids, a shiny, premium vehicle slowly pulled up in front of his modest house. He looked up, startled. It was not every day that fancy cars stopped in his quiet neighborhood. Curiosity and a little nervousness filled his chest as the car door opened, and a well-dressed woman stepped out. She approached his door with a warm smile and held a small gift bag in her hand. He immediately recognized her. It was the mother of the little girl he had helped. The memory of the frightened child who had wandered away still felt fresh in his mind. Now seeing her mother standing on his porch, he wondered what this visit could mean. The woman introduced herself and thanked him sincerely for his kindness. She explained how worried they had been when their daughter went missing, and how relieved they were when he safely brought her back home. She said that in a world where people often look away, his willingness to stop and help was truly remarkable. At first, the father tried to brush off the praise. He had only done what any caring person would do. But the woman insisted that his good heart deserved recognition, and she wanted to repay his kindness in a meaningful way. She handed him the gift bag. Inside was a card with a generous financial gift, enough to ease some of the heavy burdens he carried every day. But more than that, she offered something even more important, a promise to help him get back on his feet. She had connections in the community and wanted to support him in finding better work opportunities and resources for his family. The father was overwhelmed. Tears came to his eyes as he realized this wasn't just about money. It was about people seeing him, valuing him, and believing in his potential. For years he had struggled quietly, feeling invisible and alone, but now a new door had opened. Over the next few weeks, the woman stayed in touch, helping him meet with people who could assist with job training and childcare. She even arranged for the children to have access to activities and programs they had never experienced before. The family's life slowly began to change in small but important ways. The father, who once doubted if things could ever improve, found himself dreaming again. He worked hard, fueled by the knowledge that someone cared about his well-being. His confidence grew, and with every step forward he felt stronger as both a parent and an individual. At the same time, the bond between the two families deepened. What started as a chance encounter became a lasting friendship. They shared meals, laughter, and stories. The mother often said that her daughter's safe return was the best gift, but meeting the father and his family was a blessing she never expected. Neighbors noticed the change too. The once quiet home now buzzed with warmth and hope. The father's children smiled more, and their lives were filled with possibilities they hadn't imagined before. Looking back, the father realized that his life had been transformed not only by the generous woman's help, but by the simple act of kindness he chose to show that day. It reminded him that no matter how hard life gets, compassion and courage can create ripples that reach far beyond what we see. The shiny car that had pulled up to his house was more than just a symbol of gratitude. It was a sign that kindness, even from the most unexpected places, could bring light into the darkest moments, and so, the father continued to live with hope in his heart, ready to help others just as he had been helped. His story became a quiet reminder to his community that sometimes, all it takes to change a life is a simple choice to care.